Welcome back to State of the Union. I'm Jim Acosta. Unprecedented. That is the word South Korea is using to describe the military threat by North Korea this morning. The South Koreans say North Korea's submarine fleet has disappeared from radar, and Kim Jong-un has doubled the number of troops along the border. Will the tensions explode into all-out war? Joining me now is Democratic presidential candidate and former Secretary of the Navy, former Virginia Senator Jim Webb. Senator Webb, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Based on your experience in Asian affairs, how serious is the situation with North Korea? Obviously, every few years, it seems, the North Koreans are provocative. That typically means they want something in return for sort of lowering their military stance, their war footing. What is your sense of it when you look at it right now?
Well, they're a very opaque regime. They're the most opaque regime in Asia in terms of trying to understand what their decisional process is. And, as a result, you have to be prepared for, unpredictable actions from them. At the same time, they should know, their military people should know, that if they really were to do something like that, they would lose badly. And we are the guarantor of stability in all of the Asian Rim. We have been since the end of World War II. I worked very hard on that, as you know, and for many, many years. And I would say in the long term here, I mean, the short term is we're going to go through a crisis, and hopefully this will not spill over because it'll be bad for them, but it'll be detrimental in the region. But in the long term, this is an opportunity for us to get a confidence builder with China. We've been having a lot of problems with China. This is an area where China has some influence and perhaps can help us resolve a situation.
And is it your sense at all that the White House, that President Obama has not been firm enough, that has sort of encouraged North Korea, Kim Jong-un, to start playing games again?
No, I just think the North Korean regime is, as I say, it's opaque and unpredictable. And I think in that particular spot in East Asia, I think we've sent the right signals.
Okay.
The questions that I would have with respect to this administration's policy have been the actions of China in the Senkaku Islands and then all the way down along the rim in the Spratlys, where they are clearly expanding their military presence, and I think we could do a lot more.
Let me switch gears completely here, go to politics. Donald Trump, I'm sure you saw this, drew 30,000 people on Friday in Mobile, Alabama. Who would have thought this would have been the summer of Trump? But being a military man, does he have what it takes to be commander-in-chief, in your view?
Well, I think what we're seeing in the country writ large is sort of a period of total discomfort, almost just getting it out of the system right now. And you're seeing a lot of worries among the American populace about their futures economically and culturally, and whether the leaders in Washington are really have really been taking care of them. So you see it in the Republican Party with people going to Trump on issues that are concerning their stability, their long-term stability. And you see it in the Democratic Party with people moving toward Bernie Sanders on issues on which I actually agree with respect to economic fairness. And
can you tap into this? Can you tap into that, do you think?
I think when people calm down, and they're going to look for leaders who really can get things done, somebody who can bring people together. We have a record of, on all of these issues, economic fairness, social justice, national security, working together, that we would be able to, get into this in a very different way once things calm down, and they will.
And let me ask you about this issue of women in combat, because that's been in the news this week, as you know. And in 1979, you famously wrote, "Women can't fight," and you drew upon your experience as a combat veteran. This week we saw the first female soldiers compete in the Army's rigorous Rangers School. I suppose you're going to take all of that back, aren't you?
No, first of all, let's just say this. What were you doing in 1979?
I was about 8 years old.
Okay,
so.
All right. I mean, I came back from a very hard war where more than 100,000 Marines were killed or wounded. I had my views about how the political process should be dictating to the military the way that they make changes. And I didn't title that article, by the way. And if you read the article, it was a strong article on women in combat.
But times have changed.
They have changed. And if you look at my record as a government official, when I was Secretary of the Navy, I opened up more billets to women than any Secretary of the Navy in history. We did it by having the military talk to the political process. My record in the Senate was very clear on this. And I am totally comfortable now with the military being able to make these decisions in a way that that it goes to performance. And I'm very proud to look and see these two women are West Point graduates, and they went through the rigorous training, and the military should be able to decide how they would be used.
Let me pose another military question to you, because this came up earlier this week, and Defense Secretary Carter said on Thursday that the Pentagon is looking into this list of people who used military email addresses to use this Ashley Madison website. I don't know if you saw this, but there were some instances where there were people using their Department of Defense accounts. As somebody who used to be a top official in the Pentagon,
well, look,
how would you handle that?
I think that whole question is a large, millions of people question, and also it's more government-wide, not just Pentagon. And I think we have a lot of other issues that we need to be looking at in terms of how the United States military shapes its strategy for the future, lowers its footprint in the Middle East, takes care of these issues in Asia, and has a presence around the world that reflects our national strategy.
Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, does that have you worried very much?
I met with Joe Biden for an hour one-on-one last month. I have great regard for Joe Biden, and I think his family and him personally have shown a tremendous amount of dignity over the past several months that have gained the respect of the whole country. He is the Vice President of the United States, and I have a high regard for him.
Did he indicate to you that he is thinking about running, that this is something that's on his mind?
I think private meetings are best left that way, and I wouldn't get into another individual's potential campaign, but it doesn't surprise me that he's sitting down and talking to someone who has a strong record on economic fairness issues.
And you would obviously serve as his running mate.
You don't want me as your vice president.
Oh, is that right? Okay, all right. Senator Webb, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much.